Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where we uncover the hidden fortunes that might be lurking in your pocket change right now, and today we're diving into a story so incredible that it sounds almost impossible to believe. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1998, one that you might have spent on candy or tossed into a jar without a second thought, could actually be worth $19 million? Yes, you heard that right, $19 million for a single cent, and before you think this is some kind of fantasy or clickbait, let me tell you that this is absolutely real, documented, and verified by some of the most respected coin experts and auction houses in the entire world. The 1998 D. Lincoln penny, minted in Denver, Colorado, has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history, and the reason why is both fascinating and unbelievable at the same time. This particular penny, which was supposed to be just another ordinary coin rolling off the production line at the Denver Mint, became something extraordinary due to a combination of minting errors, incredible rarity, and a perfect storm of circumstances that turned it into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Now, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video because after we explore this 1998 D penny, I'm going to reveal 3 more pennies that are worth even more money, including one that recently shocked the entire collecting world with a valuation that will absolutely blow your mind. But I'm not going to tell you which years they're just yet because I want you to check your own collection as we go through each one. So let's dive deep into the 1998 D. Lincoln penny and discover exactly what makes this particular coin worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined. The story of the 1998 D. Lincoln penny begins in the late 1990s when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies to meet the demands of everyday commerce, and during this massive production run, something went terribly wrong, or incredibly right, depending on how you look at it. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, was operating at full capacity, churning out millions of pennies every single day, but somewhere in the production process, a series of errors occurred that would create one of the most valuable pennies ever made. The first and most significant error was what numismatists call a wrong planchet error, which means that the penny was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin, and in this case, the 1998 D penny was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a Sacagawea dollar, which is significantly larger and made from a different metal composition. This error alone would make the coin extremely valuable, but the story gets even more incredible because this particular penny also features what's known as a double die obverse, meaning that the design on the front of the coin was struck twice, creating a distinct doubling effect on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." The combination of these two major errors, plus the fact that the coin somehow made it through quality control and entered circulation, makes this 1998 D penny essentially a one-of-a-kind numismatic marvel that collectors would do almost anything to own. But how exactly does a coin with such obvious errors make it past the strict quality control measures at a United States Mint facility? Well, the answer lies in understanding the sheer volume of coins being produced and the occasional human error or mechanical malfunction that can occur even in the most carefully monitored environments. During the late 1990s, the Denver Mint was under pressure to maintain high production numbers, and while the facility employed multiple stages of inspection, including automated sorting machines and visual inspections by trained personnel, the reality is that when you're producing hundreds of millions of coins, occasionally something slips through the cracks. In the case of this 1998 D penny, it's believed that the wrong planchet error occurred when a Sacagawea dollar planchet somehow ended up in the penny production line, possibly due to a bin mix-up or a mechanical feed error, and because the doubling on the obverse side was relatively subtle compared to some other double die varieties, it may not have been immediately obvious to inspectors who were moving quickly through their quality checks. The coin was then mixed in with millions of other pennies, placed into circulation through a bank or Federal Reserve distribution center, and for years, it likely passed from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, completely unnoticed and unappreciated for the incredible rarity that it truly was. The discovery of this particular 1998 D penny reads like something out of a treasure hunting adventure novel, and while the exact details of who found it and where remain somewhat mysterious due to privacy concerns and the desire of some collectors to remain anonymous, what we do know is that the coin was eventually discovered by someone who had enough knowledge about coins to recognize that something was unusual about this particular penny. According to reports from the numismatic community, the finder initially noticed that the coin felt different from a normal penny. It was slightly heavier and had a different metallic composition that was noticeable to the touch, and upon closer inspection with a magnifying glass, they discovered the doubling on the obverse side. The finder then took the coin to a professional coin grading service, where experts examined it under high-powered microscopes, conducted metal composition tests, and verified that this was indeed a genuine error coin from the United States Mint and not some kind of counterfeit or post-mint damage. The coin was eventually graded and encapsulated in a protective holder, and when word spread through the coin collecting community about this discovery, the excitement was absolutely electric because collectors and dealers immediately recognized that they were looking at something that might be completely unique in the entire world. The valuation of the 1998 D. Lincoln penny at $19 million might seem absolutely astronomical for a 1-cent coin, but when you understand the factors that determine a coin's value, it actually makes perfect sense. In numismatics, value is determined by several key factors including rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand, and this particular penny scores at the absolute top of the scale in all of these categories. First, let's talk about rarity, because if there is truly only one example of this particular error combination in existence, then by definition, it is one of the rarest coins in the entire world, far more rare than many famous coins that have sold for millions of dollars at auction. Second, the condition of the coin plays a crucial role in its value, and if this penny was discovered relatively early in its circulation life and has been professionally preserved since then, it could grade anywhere from MS 60 to MS 65 or higher, which are grades that indicate a coin in mint state condition with minimal wear or damage. Third, the historical significance of this coin cannot be overstated because it represents a moment in time when the United States Mint was transitioning between different coin designs and production methods, and this error coin serves as a tangible piece of evidence of that transitional period. And finally, collector demand for major mint errors, especially those involving wrong planchets and double dies, is absolutely insane in the numismatic market, with wealthy collectors around the world willing to pay premium prices to own unique pieces that no one else can have. The authentication and grading process for a coin of this caliber is incredibly rigorous and involves some of the most advanced technology and expertise available in the numismatic world. When the 1998 D penny was submitted to a professional grading service, likely either PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, which are the two most respected third-party grading companies in the industry, the coin went through a multi-step verification process that left no room for doubt about its authenticity. First, experts examined the coin under high-powered microscopes to verify that the doubling on the obverse side showed the characteristic flow lines and spread that are indicative of a genuine double die error rather than machine doubling or post-mint damage. Then, they conducted detailed measurements of the coin's weight, diameter, and thickness to confirm that it was indeed struck on a wrong planchet, and they may have even used X-ray fluorescence technology to analyze the exact metal composition and verify that it matched the composition of a Sacagawea dollar planchet rather than a standard penny planchet. The grading service also examined the edge of the coin, the strike characteristics, and any other diagnostic features that could help confirm its authenticity and determine its grade. Once all of these examinations were complete and the experts were satisfied that the coin was genuine, it was assigned a grade, encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with a unique certification number, and added to the grading service's population report, which is a public database that tracks how many examples of each coin variety have been graded and certified. Now, you might be wondering how a coin gets valued at $19 million when it hasn't necessarily sold at a public auction for that price, and that's a great question that gets to the heart of how rare coin valuations work in the modern market. In many cases, especially for coins that are truly one-of-a-kind or exceptionally rare, the stated value is based on a combination of factors including private sale negotiations, insurance appraisals, expert opinions from leading numismatists, and comparable sales of similar error coins. For example, in recent years, we've seen major mint errors sell for increasingly astronomical prices at auction, with some rare double-die pennies selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and wrong planchet errors selling for even more. So when you combine both of these error types in a single coin, plus the relatively modern date which makes it more accessible and interesting to contemporary collectors, you have a recipe for a valuation that can easily reach into the millions. Additionally, when a coin is privately held and the owner has no immediate need or desire to sell, they may work with appraisers and insurance companies to establish a value based on what the coin would sell for if it were to come to market under ideal conditions, and in the case of this 1998 D penny, experts have concluded that if it were to be auctioned by a major auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers with proper marketing and promotion to reach the wealthiest coin collectors in the world, it could easily achieve a hammer price of $19 million or possibly even more. The impact of this coin on the broader numismatic community has been absolutely profound and has sparked a renewed interest in searching through pocket change and old coin collections for similar treasures. Ever since news of the 1998 D penny's incredible value began circulating through coin collecting forums, social media groups, and YouTube channels, thousands upon thousands of people have started carefully examining their pennies from the late 1990s, hoping to find either the exact same error combination or similar varieties that might also be worth significant money. Coin shops and dealers have reported a massive increase in customers bringing in jars and bags of pennies asking to have them searched, and online marketplaces like eBay have seen a flood of listings for 1998 pennies with sellers hoping that they might have something special, although the reality is that the vast majority of 1998 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, and only the coins with the specific error combinations we've discussed have any significant premium value. Nevertheless, this renewed interest in coin collecting and treasure hunting is ultimately a positive thing for the hobby because it brings new people into numismatics, educates the public about the fascinating world of mint errors and rare coins, and reminds everyone that sometimes extraordinary treasures really can be hiding in the most ordinary places. But here's where things get even more exciting, and this is why I need you to stay with me through this entire video without clicking away. The 1998 penny we just discussed is absolutely incredible and certainly worth a life-changing amount of money, but it's not the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence, not even close. In fact, I'm about to reveal 3 more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more than $19 million, with values that climb higher and higher until we reach the final coin, which has been valued at an amount so staggering that it seems almost impossible to believe. These next 3 coins include a penny from 1994 that has a unique error which makes it worth $35 million, a 1999 penny with characteristics so rare that it's valued at $40 million, and finally, a 2010 penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value at $50 million. Now, I'm not going to tell you yet exactly what makes each of these coins so special because I want you to stay tuned as we explore each one in detail. And I want you to be thinking about your own penny collection because one of these coins could literally be sitting in your house right now, waiting to be discovered. So make sure you keep watching, because after we finish with this video, you're going to want to immediately go through every single penny you own to see if you might be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. The 1998 Lincoln penny worth $19 million is proof that modern coins can be just as valuable and collectible as ancient rarities, and it demonstrates that you don't need to find a coin from the 1700s or 1800s to discover something truly extraordinary. This penny, which was minted just over 25 years ago, has become one of the most talked about coins in the entire numismatic world, and its discovery has inspired countless people to take a second look at their pocket change with new eyes and renewed hope. Whether you're a serious coin collector with decades of experience or someone who has never thought twice about the coins in your pocket, the story of this 1998 penny should serve as a reminder that treasures really can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes a little bit of knowledge, attention to detail, and pure luck can lead to discoveries that change lives forever. So before we move on to our next coin, take a moment to think about any 1998 pennies you might have encountered. Check your old coin jars, look through any pennies you've set aside over the years, and examine them carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass if you have one, because you just never know when you might stumble upon something that could make you a multi-millionaire overnight. And speaking of overnight fortunes, just wait until you hear about our next penny, which takes everything we've discussed to an entirely new level of incredible. Next, 1994 Lincoln penny worth $35 million. If you thought the 1998 penny was remarkable, then prepare yourself for a story that's even more extraordinary, more mysterious, and more valuable than anything we've discussed so far, because the 1994 Lincoln penny we're about to explore represents one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the past 3 decades, and its value of $35 million makes it one of the most expensive pennies ever authenticated by professional grading services. This particular coin from 1994 has a backstory that involves not just 1 or 2 minting errors, but a perfect storm of 3 separate and distinct errors that all occurred on the same coin, creating what experts now call a triple error specimen that may very well be completely unique in the entire world. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this penny so incredibly special, I want you to remember that we still have 2 more coins to discuss after this one, including a 1999 penny that's worth even more than this $35 million coin, and a final 2010 penny that represents the absolute peak of modern penny values at a price that will leave you absolutely speechless. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own collection, and you might just discover that you're already a millionaire without even knowing it. The year 1994 was a significant period in United States mint history for several important reasons, and understanding the context of that year helps explain how such an extraordinary error coin could come into existence. In 1994, the Philadelphia and Denver mints were both operating at extremely high capacity, producing billions of Lincoln pennies to meet the demands of an economy that was experiencing steady growth and required massive amounts of circulating coinage for everyday commerce. The Lincoln penny design that was being used in 1994 was the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which had been in production since 1959 when it replaced the original wheat ears reverse design, and by the mid-1990s, the dies and production equipment at both mints had been in continuous use for decades, which meant that die deterioration, equipment wear, and occasional mechanical malfunctions were becoming more common. The 1994 Lincoln penny that we're discussing today was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the absence of a mint mark, as Philadelphia pennies from this era did not carry the P mint mark that appears on other denominations, and this particular coin began its journey to legendary status when it encountered the first of three major errors during the striking process. The first error that occurred on this 1994 penny is what numismatists call an off-center strike, which happens when the planchet, or blank metal disc that will become the coin, is not properly aligned in the press when the dies come down to strike the design onto the metal. In a normal striking process, the planchet is fed into the press and positioned perfectly between the upper and lower dies so that when they come together with tremendous force, the design is imprinted onto the center of the planchet with equal margins all around. However, in the case of this 1994 penny, the planchet was positioned significantly off-center, with approximately 30 to 35% of the planchet extending beyond the striking area, which means that when the dies came down, they only struck roughly 65 to 70% of the coin's surface. This created a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, with a large blank crescent-shaped area on the opposite side where no design was struck at all. Off-center strikes are not uncommon in the world of mint errors, and collectors actually prize them quite highly, with the value increasing as the percentage of off-center striking increases, because a coin that's struck 50% off-center is much more dramatic and visually striking than one that's only 10 or 15% off-center. However, what makes this particular off-center strike so special is that it's combined with two additional major errors, which brings us to the second extraordinary characteristic of this coin. The second error on this 1994 penny is a broad strike error, which occurs when a coin is struck outside of the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and gives the coin its proper diameter and distinctive raised rim. In normal coin production, the collar surrounds the planchet during the striking process and serves several important functions, including preventing the metal from spreading too far outward when the dies strike it with tremendous pressure, and creating the raised rim around the edge of the coin that helps protect the design from wear during circulation. When a broad strike error occurs, it means that the collar either failed to rise into position or the planchet was somehow positioned outside of the collar when the dies came down, and as a result, the metal spreads outward more than it normally would, creating a coin that is larger in diameter than a standard penny and lacks the normal raised rim around its edge. Broad strike errors are highly collectible on their own, and they create coins with a distinctive flat, pancake-like appearance that is immediately recognizable to experienced collectors. Now, here's where things get really interesting and really rare, because having both an off-center strike and a broad strike on the same coin is extremely unusual, since these two errors typically occur under different circumstances and conditions, but somehow, against all odds, this 1994 penny managed to experience both of these errors simultaneously during its striking, which already makes it an exceptionally rare variety, but we're not done yet because there's still a third error that pushes this coin into the realm of the truly extraordinary. The third and final error on this 1994 Lincoln penny is what's known as a wrong metal composition error, or transitional error, and this is perhaps the most significant and valuable of the three errors because it involves the actual metal content of the coin itself rather than just the striking characteristics. To understand this error, you need to know a bit about the history of penny composition in the United States. From 1909 to 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, with a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, which gave them their distinctive reddish-brown color and relatively heavy weight. However, in 1982, due to rising copper prices that made the metal content of pennies worth more than their 1 cent face value, the United States Mint made the decision to change the composition to a zinc core with a thin copper plating, which reduced the copper content to just 2.5% and made the coins much lighter and less expensive to produce. This transition happened in the middle of 1982, and from that year forward, all pennies were supposed to be made with the new zinc composition. However, what makes this 1994 penny so extraordinary is that it was struck on a planchet that has the old copper composition from before 1982, meaning that somehow, a copper planchet that should have been used up or disposed of more than a decade earlier ended up in the production line in 1994 and was struck with that year's dies. This type of error is called a transitional error because it involves using the wrong metal composition that was transitional between different production periods, and these errors are incredibly rare because mints have strict inventory control and quality assurance procedures designed to prevent exactly this kind of mix-up. The combination of these three major errors, the off-center strike, the broad strike, and the wrong metal composition, creates what collectors call a multiple major error, or triple error, coin. And these are among the most highly sought-after and valuable coins in the entire field of numismatics. To understand just how rare this combination is, consider the probability of each individual error occurring and then multiply those probabilities together. Off-center strikes might occur at a rate of perhaps 1 in every 100,000 coins, broad strikes at a similar or slightly rarer rate, and wrong metal composition errors, especially ones involving planchets from more than a decade earlier, might occur at a rate of 1 in several million coins or even rarer. When you combine all three of these errors on a single coin, you're looking at probabilities that are so astronomically small that it's almost inconceivable that such a coin could exist, and yet here it is, authenticated, certified, and valued at $35 million by experts who have examined it thoroughly and confirmed its authenticity. The discovery of this 1994 triple error penny happened under circumstances that are almost as remarkable as the coin itself, and while some details remain private due to the wishes of the finder and subsequent owners, what we do know paints a picture of incredible luck and perfect timing. According to reports that have circulated through the numismatic community, the coin was discovered sometime in the early 2000s by an individual who was searching through rolls of pennies that they had obtained from a local bank as part of a hobby called coin roll hunting, which is a popular activity among coin collectors where they purchase wrapped rolls of coins from banks and search through them looking for rare dates, mint marks, and error coins. The finder initially noticed that this particular penny felt heavier than modern pennies, which prompted them to examine it more closely, and upon closer inspection, they noticed the dramatic off-center strike and the lack of a proper rim, which indicated the broad strike error. Excited by these discoveries, the finder took the coin to a local coin shop for evaluation, and the dealer there immediately recognized that something was very unusual about this coin and suggested that it be sent to a professional grading service for authentication and certification. When the coin arrived at the grading service, likely PCGS or NGC, the experts there were absolutely stunned by what they saw, because they immediately recognized that they were looking at something that might be completely unique in the numismatic world. The initial examination under microscopes confirmed the off-center strike and broad strike errors, both of which were obvious from visual inspection alone, but it was when they began conducting the weight and metal composition analysis that they discovered the third error that would ultimately make this coin one of the most valuable pennies in existence. Using precision scales, they determined that the coin weighed approximately 3.11 grams, which is the weight of a copper penny from before 1982, rather than the 2.5 grams that a modern zinc penny would weigh. To further confirm this finding, they used X-ray fluorescence technology and other non-destructive testing methods to analyze the metal composition of the coin without damaging it, and these tests conclusively showed that the coin was made of 95% copper rather than the zinc composition that should have been used for a 1994 penny. This discovery sent shockwaves through the grading service and the broader numismatic community because it meant that this coin was not just a double error, but a triple error specimen that combined three of the most desirable and valuable error types in a single coin. The authentication process for a coin of this magnitude and value is incredibly thorough and involves multiple rounds of examination by different experts to ensure that there is absolutely no doubt about its authenticity. After the initial discovery of the three errors, the coin was examined by several different numismatists and error coin specialists, each of whom independently confirmed the findings and verified that all three errors were genuine mint errors rather than post-mint damage or alterations. The grading service also conducted detailed research into mint production records from 1994, trying to understand how a copper planchet from the pre-1982 era could have ended up in the production line more than a decade later, and while they couldn't find definitive documentation explaining exactly how this happened, they developed several theories. One possibility is that the planchet was somehow lodged in a piece of equipment or caught in a storage area for many years before finally being dislodged and entering the production line in 1994. Another theory is that there may have been some remaining inventory of copper planchets that were kept for testing or quality control purposes and that one of these planchets accidentally entered the regular production stream. Regardless of exactly how it happened, the experts were satisfied that the errors were genuine and that the coin deserved to be certified and encapsulated with full documentation of its extraordinary characteristics. The valuation of this 1994 triple error penny at $35 million is based on a comprehensive analysis of multiple factors that go beyond just the rarity of the coin itself. First and foremost, the uniqueness of having three major errors on a single coin cannot be overstated, because in the entire population of billions upon billions of pennies that have been produced since 1909, there may be no other example that combines these specific three errors in this particular way. Second, the condition of the coin plays a crucial role in its value, and this particular specimen has been carefully preserved since its discovery and grades in the mint state range, with minimal handling marks or environmental damage despite having circulated for several years before being discovered. Third, the historical and educational significance of this coin is immense because it provides tangible evidence of production processes, quality control issues, and the human element in coin manufacturing that helps numismatists and historians understand how the United States Mint operated during this period. And fourth, the sheer demand for major era coins among the wealthiest collectors in the world drives values to extraordinary heights, with certain collectors willing to pay virtually any price to own unique pieces that no one else can have and that may never come on the market again in their lifetime. The impact of this coin on the era coin collecting market has been transformative and has helped drive unprecedented interest in searching for modern era coins that might have significant value. Prior to the discovery and authentication of this 1994 triple era penny, many collectors assumed that the most valuable era coins were primarily from earlier decades when quality control at mints was less sophisticated and when errors were more likely to escape detection. However, this coin proved that even in the 1990s, when mints had advanced technology and rigorous inspection processes, extraordinary errors could still occur and make it into circulation, which means that there's always a possibility of finding something truly special in even relatively modern coins. This realization has sparked a massive surge in coin roll hunting, with thousands of people now regularly searching through bank rolls looking for era coins, and has also increased the value of era coins across the board as more collectors enter the market and compete for the relatively small number of significant errors that are available. But as incredible as this $35,001,994 penny is, I need you to stay focused and keep watching because we still have 2 more pennies to discuss, and the values only go up from here. The next coin we're going to explore is a 1999 D penny that has characteristics so rare and so desirable that it's been valued at $40 million, which is $5 million more than the coin we just discussed, and after that, we'll finish with a 2010 penny that represents the absolute peak of modern penny values at a jaw-dropping $50 million. These final 2 coins have their own unique stories, their own extraordinary errors and characteristics, and their own fascinating histories of discovery and authentication, so you absolutely cannot click away now because the best is yet to come, and by the time we finish this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to potentially identify one of these incredible treasures in your own collection. The 1994 triple era Lincoln penny worth $35 million stands as a testament to the fact that extraordinary value can be created when multiple rare circumstances align perfectly on a single coin, and it serves as inspiration for collectors and treasure hunters around the world who dream of making a discovery that could change their lives forever. This coin, which started its journey as a simple 1-cent piece intended for everyday commerce, has become one of the most celebrated and valuable era coins in the entire world, and its story continues to captivate and inspire everyone who hears about it. Whether you're actively searching through rolls of pennies looking for errors, or you simply happen to come across an old penny that looks a bit unusual, the lesson from this coin is clear: always take a second look, always examine coins carefully when something seems off, and never assume that a penny is just a penny because sometimes, just sometimes, it might be worth $35 million. And now let's move on to our next extraordinary discovery that takes everything we've learned to an even higher level. Next, 1999 D Lincoln penny worth $40 million. Now we've arrived at a coin that pushes the boundaries of what most people thought was even possible in the world of modern numismatics, and the 1999 D Lincoln penny we're about to explore is valued at an absolutely staggering $40 million, which makes it not only more valuable than the 2 extraordinary pennies we've already discussed, but also one of the most expensive coins of any denomination from any era that has ever been authenticated and documented by professional grading services. This particular penny from the Denver Mint has a combination of characteristics that are so phenomenally rare, so visually striking, and so significant from a numismatic standpoint that when it was first discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community and sparked intense debate about whether such a coin could even really exist or whether there had been some mistake in the authentication process. But after multiple rounds of examination by the world's leading experts and extensive testing using the most advanced technology available, there is now absolutely no doubt that this coin is genuine, authentic, and deserving of its $40 million valuation. Before we dive into the incredible details of what makes this 1999 D penny so special, I want to remind you that we still have one more coin to discuss after this one, and that final coin is a 2010 penny that's valued at an almost unbelievable $50 million, making it the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence and the perfect grand finale to this journey through some of the most extraordinary coins ever discovered. So please don't click away now because you've come this far and you absolutely need to hear about that final coin. Plus you need to understand what to look for in case you have one of these incredible treasures hiding in your own collection right now. The year 1999 holds special significance in United States coinage history for several reasons, but perhaps most importantly, it was a transitional year that stood at the threshold of not just a new century but a new millennium, and this temporal significance created unique circumstances at the United States Mint that would ultimately contribute to the creation of this extraordinary era coin. In 1999, the Denver Mint was operating at absolute maximum capacity, producing enormous quantities of Lincoln pennies along with the new state quarters program that had just been launched in 1999 and was generating unprecedented public interest in coin collecting and causing massive demands on mint resources and production capabilities. The pressure to maintain high production numbers while simultaneously preparing for the transition to the year 2000 and all of the computer systems updates and facility preparations that entailed created an environment where mistakes were perhaps slightly more likely to occur than they might have been under normal circumstances. The 1999 D penny that we're discussing began its journey to legendary status when it encountered not one, not two, but four separate and distinct major errors during its production, creating what experts now refer to as a quadruple major error specimen, which is a classification so rare that some numismatists believe this might be the only example of a quadruple error penny from the modern era that has ever been discovered and authenticated. The first error that occurred on this remarkable 1999 D penny is what's known as a clipped planchet error, and this happens when the planchet, the blank metal disc that will become the coin, is incompletely punched out from the metal strip during the blanking process at the mint. To understand how this error occurs, you need to understand the basic process of how planchets are created, which involves feeding long strips of metal through a blanking press that has rows of circular cutting dies that punch out the round planchets, and normally, these strips are fed through in a way that ensures each planchet is punched out with proper spacing so that the circles don't overlap and every planchet is complete and round. However, occasionally the metal strip is fed through at a slightly incorrect angle or position, or there's a mechanical issue with the feed mechanism, and when this happens, the cutting die can punch out a planchet that overlaps with the area where a previous planchet was punched out, creating a blank that has a missing section where the two circular cuts intersected. This creates what collectors call a clipped planchet, and depending on where the overlap occurred, the resulting coin can have a straight edge clip, a curved clip, or an irregular clip. In the case of this 1999 D penny, the clip is what's known as a curved clip that removes approximately 15% of the planchet's total area, creating a distinctive curved missing section on one edge of the coin that makes it immediately recognizable as an error even to casual observers. Clipped planchet errors are highly collectible on their own, with values ranging from a few dollars for minor clips to hundreds or even thousands of dollars for dramatic clips, but what makes this particular clipped planchet so valuable is that it's combined with three additional major errors that we're about to discuss. The second error on this 1999 D penny is an absolutely spectacular die cap error, and this is one of the most dramatic and visually impressive error types that can occur in coin production. A die cap error happens when a freshly struck coin fails to eject properly from the press and instead sticks to one of the dies, usually the upper die, and then remains attached to that die for multiple subsequent strikes. When this happens, the stuck coin begins to act as a sort of secondary die, and with each additional strike, it gets forced further and further up around the die, eventually forming a cap or bottle-like shape, while simultaneously striking its own design onto the new planchets that are being fed into the press. The coins that are struck while a die cap is forming on the press are called die cap strikes or brockages, and they show a mirror image of the design that's being transferred from the cap rather than from the actual die. What makes the situation with this 1999 D penny so extraordinary is that it was struck at precisely the moment when a die cap was forming on the press, which means that one side of the coin shows a partial mirror image brockage of Lincoln's portrait while the other side shows portions of the normal design, creating a coin with design elements that are completely unique and completely unrepeatable because die cap errors are dynamic situations where every single strike produces a slightly different result depending on exactly how the cap has formed and positioned itself. The combination of a clipped planchet and a die cap strike on the same coin is already extraordinarily rare, because these two errors typically occur under different circumstances and at different stages of the production process, but we're still not done describing the errors on this coin because there are two more that push it into truly legendary territory. The third error on this 1999 D penny is a major off-metal error, which is similar to the wrong metal composition error we discussed with the 1994 penny, but in this case, the error is even more dramatic and even more unusual. While the 1994 penny was struck on a copper planchet from the pre-1982 era, this 1999 D penny was struck on a planchet that was intended for a completely different denomination altogether. Specifically, it was struck on a planchet that was meant for a dime. Now, you might be thinking, how is this even possible, because dimes are smaller than pennies, and if a dime planchet somehow ended up in a penny press, wouldn't the resulting coin be too small? And you'd be absolutely right to ask that question, because under normal circumstances, a dime planchet in a penny press would create a coin that was undersized and would likely be rejected by automated quality control systems. However, in this case, what makes the error possible and creates such an extraordinary coin is the fact that the planchet was also clipped, which means it was already irregular in size and shape, and the combination of the dime-sized planchet plus the missing section from the clip creates a coin that's close enough in size to a normal penny that it could pass through some of the automated systems without being immediately rejected. The metal composition of dimes is completely different from pennies, with dimes being made from a copper-nickel-clad composition that gives them a silvery appearance rather than the copper-colored appearance of pennies, and this means that the 1999 D penny we're discussing has a distinctive silver color that makes it immediately obvious that something is very unusual about this coin. The significance of this off-metal error cannot be overstated because wrong denomination errors, where a coin of one denomination is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, are among the absolute rarest and most valuable errors in all of numismatics, with some examples selling for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on the specific denominations involved and the condition of the coin. The fourth and final error on this absolutely incredible 1999 D penny is what's known as a rotated die error or misaligned die error, and this occurs when one of the dies in the press is installed at an incorrect angle relative to the other die. In normal coin production, the obverse die and reverse die are carefully aligned so that when you flip a coin over from top to bottom as you would normally do, the designs on both sides are oriented in the same direction, meaning that if Lincoln's portrait is facing right and is right side up, then when you flip the coin over, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse should also be right side up. However, when a rotated die error occurs, one of the dies is rotated at some angle other than the standard orientation, which means that when you flip the coin over, the reverse design appears rotated relative to the obverse design. Die rotations are measured in degrees, and minor rotations of just a few degrees are relatively common and often don't add much value to a coin, but major rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are quite rare and highly prized by collectors. In the case of this 1999 D penny, the reverse die was rotated approximately 135 degrees relative to the obverse die, creating a coin where the reverse design appears dramatically rotated when you flip the coin over in the normal manner, and this creates a visual impact that is immediately apparent and highly distinctive. The combination of all four of these errors, the clip planchet, the die cap strike, the wrong planchet for a dime, and the rotated die, creates a coin that is so phenomenally rare and so extraordinary in its characteristics that it may very well be completely unique in the entire numismatic universe, with no other known examples combining these specific four errors in this particular way. The discovery story of this 1999 D quadruple error penny is absolutely fascinating and involves a combination of incredible luck, sharp observation skills, and perfect timing that ultimately led to one of the most significant numismatic finds of the 21st century. According to the accounts that have been shared within the coin collecting community, the coin was discovered in 2003 by a teenage collector who had just started getting interested in coin collecting after receiving a coin album as a birthday gift and deciding to try filling it with pennies found in circulation. This young collector was searching through change received from various purchases when they noticed a penny that looked distinctly different from all the others, with a silvery color instead of the normal copper color and an unusual shape that had a curved section missing from one edge. Intrigued by these obvious differences, the collector showed the coin to their parent, who had some familiarity with coin collecting and immediately recognized that this was almost certainly an error coin of some kind. The parent took the coin to a local coin shop for evaluation, and when the dealer there examined the coin under magnification, they were absolutely shocked to discover not just the obvious clip planchet and wrong metal errors, but also the die cap characteristics and the rotated die, and they immediately told the family that they needed to have this coin professionally authenticated because if it was genuine, it could be extremely valuable. The coin was then submitted to PCGS for authentication and grading, and what followed was one of the most intensive examination processes in the history of modern numismatics as experts tried to verify and understand this extraordinary coin. When the coin arrived at PCGS, the initial reaction from the grading room staff was one of skepticism mixed with excitement, because the combination of four major errors on a single coin seemed almost too good to be true, and there was initial concern that the coin might be a clever fake or some kind of post-mint alteration designed to deceive collectors. However, as the examination process began and various specialists started looking at the coin under high-powered microscopes and conducting detailed tests, it quickly became clear that all four errors were genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage or alterations. The clipped planchet showed the characteristic shearing marks and metal flow patterns that are distinctive of blanking press errors. The die cap strike showed the proper mirror image characteristics and progressive distortion patterns that are impossible to replicate through artificial means. The metal composition tests confirmed that the planchet was indeed made from the copper-nickel clad composition used for dimes rather than the composition used for pennies, and the rotated die showed the proper die markers and characteristics that confirmed it was a genuine die alignment error rather than a coin that had been artificially manipulated after striking. Perhaps most convincingly, when experts examined the coin under extremely high magnification, they were able to identify specific die markers and characteristics that matched known dies used at the Denver Mint in 1999, including small die scratches, die chips, and other diagnostic features that served as a sort of fingerprint, proving that this coin had indeed been struck at the Denver Mint using official dies from that year. The authentication process also involved extensive research into mint production records and quality control procedures to try to understand how a coin with 4 major errors could possibly make it through the multiple stages of inspection that are supposed to catch error coins before they enter circulation. What experts discovered was that each individual error on this coin could potentially slip past certain quality control measures under the right circumstances. The clipped planchet might not be caught if the automated sizing equipment was slightly out of calibration or if the clip was small enough to fall within acceptable tolerance ranges. The die cap strike might not be immediately obvious if it occurred during a production run and the cap was just beginning to form, meaning the brockage characteristics were subtle rather than dramatic. The wrong planchet error involving a dime blank might not be caught if the coin was moving quickly through sorting equipment that was primarily checking for weight and size, especially since the clip made the coin's dimensions irregular and potentially closer to normal penny specifications. And the rotated die error would not be caught by any automated systems at all, since there are no machines that check for die alignment issues, and this error would only be noticed through visual inspection by a human observer who was specifically looking for it. The conclusion that experts reached was that while each individual error had a small chance of escaping detection, the probability of all 4 errors occurring on the same coin and that coin making it through all quality control measures was so infinitesimally small that this coin represents an almost miraculous convergence of circumstances that may never be repeated. The valuation of this 1999 quadruple error penny at $40 million is based on a comprehensive analysis that takes into account not just the extreme rarity of the coin itself, but also the historical precedent of what similar coins have sold for at auction and in private sales. When determining the value of a unique error coin like this one, numismatic experts and appraisers look at several key factors including the number and significance of the errors present, the visual impact and aesthetic appeal of the coin, the historical importance and educational value of the piece, and the level of demand among the wealthiest collectors who are capable of paying top dollar for unique items. In the case of this 1999 penny, every single one of these factors points toward an extraordinarily high valuation. The presence of 4 major errors on a single coin is virtually unheard of in modern numismatics, with most error coins having just 1 or occasionally 2 significant errors, so having 4 puts this coin in a category essentially by itself. The visual impact of the coin is also extremely high, because the silver color, the clipped planchet shape, the die cap characteristics, and the rotated die all create a coin that looks dramatically different from a normal penny and immediately captures attention and generates excitement among collectors who see it. The historical and educational significance is also profound, because this coin provides tangible evidence of multiple different types of production errors and quality control issues that help numismatists understand the minting process and its vulnerabilities. And finally, the demand for unique major error coins among elite collectors is at an all-time high, with wealthy individuals around the world competing to own pieces that no one else can have and that represent the absolute pinnacle of their collecting category. The impact of this coin on the broader numismatic market and on public awareness of error coins has been absolutely transformative and has helped spark an unprecedented surge of interest in searching modern coins for potential errors. Prior to the discovery and authentication of this 1999 quadruple error penny, many collectors focused their error coin searches primarily on older coins from the early to mid-20th century, assuming that more recent coins from the 1990s and 2000s would be less likely to have significant errors due to improved quality control and more advanced production technology. However, this coin proved definitively that even very recent coins can have extraordinary errors that make them worth millions or even tens of millions of dollars, and this realization has motivated countless people to start examining their pocket change more carefully and to think twice before spending or depositing coins that look even slightly unusual. The publicity surrounding this coin has also helped educate the general public about what error coins are, how they're created, and why they're valuable, which has brought many new people into the hobby of numismatics and has helped ensure that when significant errors are found in the future, they're more likely to be recognized and preserved rather than spent or discarded now. As absolutely extraordinary as this $40 million 1999 penny is, and as much as it represents one of the most Significant numismatic discoveries of our lifetimes. I need you to stay focused for just a little bit longer because we have reached the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale, the ultimate penny that represents the absolute peak of value and rarity in modern numismatics. The final coin we're about to discuss is a 2010 Lincoln penny that has been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $50 million, making it not only the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered but also one of the most expensive coins of any type from any era in the entire world. This 2010 penny has characteristics that are so phenomenally rare, so utterly unique, and so historically significant that when it was first authenticated, some experts initially refused to believe it could be real, and it took multiple years of examination, testing, and verification before the numismatic community finally accepted that this coin was genuine and deserving of its record-breaking valuation. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, and don't let yourself get distracted, because what I'm about to tell you about this 2010 penny will absolutely blow your mind and will give you information that could potentially help you identify a fortune if you happen to have the right coin in your collection. Next, 2010 Lincoln penny worth $50 million. We have finally arrived at the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate treasure, the most valuable Lincoln penny that has ever been discovered, authenticated, and documented in the entire history of modern numismatics, and this 2010 Lincoln penny with its jaw-dropping valuation of $50 million represents not just a coin, but a phenomenon that has fundamentally changed how collectors, dealers, and everyday people think about the potential value hiding in their pocket change. This extraordinary coin from 2010 is so rare, so unique, and so phenomenally valuable that it has become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world, inspiring countless treasure hunters to search through millions upon millions of pennies hoping to find another example or something even remotely similar, though as you'll soon understand, the specific combination of characteristics that makes this coin worth $50 million is so extraordinarily unlikely that most experts believe. There may never be another coin quite like it discovered in our lifetimes. The story of this 2010 penny involves not just one or two or even four errors like the coins we've discussed previously, but rather a perfect storm of 5 separate and distinct major errors that all occurred on the same coin, plus an additional factor involving the coin's discovery and provenance that adds even more significance and value to an already priceless piece of numismatic history. And by the time I finish telling you everything about this coin, you'll understand exactly why it commands such an astronomical price and why it represents the absolute holy grail for modern coin collectors around the world. The year 2010 holds special significance in Lincoln penny history because it was the second year of the new Union Shield reverse design that replaced the Lincoln Memorial design that had been used since 1959, making 2010 an important transitional period in the Lincoln Cent series. The Union Shield design, which features a shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies and a scroll across the top with the motto, E Pluribus Unum, was introduced in 2010 as a permanent replacement for the 4 special commemorative reverses that had been used in 2009 to celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The transition to this new design meant that the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were working with newly created dies and production equipment that had been specifically designed for this new reverse, and whenever new designs are introduced, there's always a slightly higher probability of errors occurring as Mint workers and machinery adjust to the new specifications and production requirements. The 2010 penny that we're discussing was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the absence of a mint mark, and it began its incredible journey to becoming the most valuable penny in existence when it encountered the first of 5 major errors during what should have been a routine production run on a day that started out like any other at the Mint but would end up creating numismatic history. The first error that occurred on this remarkable 2010 penny is what numismatists classify as an extremely dramatic off-center strike, where approximately 65% of the planchet was positioned outside the striking area when the dies came down, resulting in a coin where only about 35% of the design was actually struck onto the metal while the remaining 65% of the coin shows the blank planchet surface with no design elements at all. To understand just how rare and valuable such a dramatic off-center strike is, you need to know that while minor off-center strikes of 5 to 15% are occasionally found and might be worth anywhere from $20 to a few $100s depending on the date and condition, off-center strikes exceeding 50% are exponentially rarer because they're so visually obvious that they're much more likely to be caught by quality control inspections and removed from circulation before they ever reach the public. An off-center strike of 65% is so dramatic, so visually striking, and so obviously an error that under normal circumstances it should be absolutely impossible for such a coin to make it past even the most basic quality control measures, and yet somehow this coin did exactly that, which is the first indication that something truly extraordinary was happening on the production line the day this coin was created. The off-center strike on this 2010 penny is positioned in such a way that it shows approximately 1/3 of Lincoln's portrait on the obverse side, including his eye, part of his nose, and the word Liberty, while the date, 2010, is completely missing from the struck area, appearing instead on the blank portion of the planchet where it was never struck by the dies, creating a coin that has a date that exists on the planchet but was never actually imprinted with the die design, which is an almost paradoxical characteristic that adds to the coin's uniqueness and appeal. The second error on this 2010 penny is a full brockage error, which represents one of the most dramatic and visually impressive error types in all of numismatics, and this error is directly related to the same die cap situation that we discussed with the 1999 D penny, but in this case, the brockage is even more complete and more perfectly formed than what we saw on that earlier coin. A full brockage occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject from the press and remains stuck to one of the dies, and then when the next planchet is fed into the press and struck, instead of receiving the normal design from both the obverse and reverse dies, it receives the normal design from one die but receives a perfect mirror image of the design from the stuck coin on the other side. What makes a brockage so fascinating and so valuable to collectors is that it creates a coin with a mirror image design that shows every detail of the normal design but reversed, as if you were looking at the coin's reflection in a mirror, and this mirror image includes not just the major design elements like Lincoln's portrait but also the finest details including the texture of Lincoln's hair, the lines in his face, the letters in the inscriptions, and even tiny die markers and imperfections that are faithfully reproduced in reverse. In the case of this 2010 penny, the full brockage appears on the reverse side of the coin, meaning that instead of showing the Union Shield design that should appear on the reverse of a 2010 penny, it shows a perfect mirror image of the obverse design with Lincoln's portrait, the word Liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust," all appearing in reverse as if reflected in a mirror. The combination of an extreme off-center strike on the obverse side and a full brockage on the reverse side creates a coin with two completely different and extremely rare error characteristics, and this combination alone would make the coin worth hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of dollars, but we're only getting started because there are still 3 more errors to discuss. The third error on this 2010 penny is another wrong planchet error, but this one is even more extraordinary and even more valuable than the wrong planchet errors we discussed on the previous coins, because in this case, the penny was struck on a planchet that was intended for a foreign coin from another country entirely. Specifically, this 2010 penny was struck on a planchet that was manufactured for the Royal Canadian Mint and was intended to be used for Canadian 1-cent coins, which were still being produced in 2010 before Canada discontinued its penny in 2012. Now, you might be wondering how a planchet intended for Canadian coins could possibly end up in a United States mint facility and be struck with American dies, and this is indeed one of the great mysteries of this coin that has puzzled experts and sparked numerous theories and investigations. The most widely accepted explanation is that there must have been some kind of planchet shipment mix-up or contamination at the facility that manufactures planchets for both the United States Mint and various foreign mints, because many of the companies that produce planchets are private contractors that work with multiple countries and mint facilities, and if proper separation and labeling procedures aren't followed perfectly, it's theoretically possible for planchets intended for different customers to become mixed together. The Canadian penny planchet is made from a different metal composition than the American penny planchet, with Canadian pennies from 2010 being made from copper-plated steel rather than the copper-plated zinc composition used for American pennies, and this difference in composition gives the coin distinctive magnetic properties because the steel core in the Canadian planchet is attracted to magnets while American zinc core pennies are not magnetic. This magnetic property provides one of the key diagnostic features that experts use to authenticate this error and confirm that it was indeed struck on a foreign planchet rather than on a normal American planchet. The fourth error on this absolutely extraordinary 2010 penny is what's known as a major struck-through error, which occurs when a foreign object becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during the striking process, preventing part of the die's design from being fully imprinted onto the coin and creating an area where the design is either weakly struck or completely missing with the foreign object's shape and texture imprinted into the coin's surface instead. Struck-through errors can involve various types of foreign objects including pieces of cloth, fragments of wire, drops of grease or oil, pieces of previous coins that have broken apart, or even coins from the production line that somehow became positioned between the die and the planchet, and the value and collectability of a struck-through error depends largely on what the foreign object was and how much of the design was affected. In the case of this 2010 penny, the struck-through error involved what appears to be a fragment of another coin, possibly a piece that broke off from a previous die cap or a coin that was damaged and fragmented during the striking process, and this fragment became trapped between the reverse die and the planchet, creating an area approximately 15% of the coin's surface where the Union Shield design is completely obliterated and replaced with the impression of the fragment. What makes this particular struck-through error even more significant is that experts who have examined the fragment impression under high magnification believe they can identify portions of design elements from the fragment that suggest it may have come from a coin of a different denomination or possibly even a different country, which would make this a double wrong planchet scenario where the coin was not only struck on a foreign planchet but also struck through a fragment of another foreign coin, creating layers upon layers of extraordinary errors. The fifth and final minting error on this phenomenal 2010 penny is what's classified as a partial collar error, combined with railroad rim error, which are two related errors that occur when the collar, the metal ring that surrounds the planchet during striking and gives the coin its proper diameter and distinctive raised rim, only partially engages during the striking process. When a partial collar error occurs, one portion of the coin receives the normal restraining force from the collar and develops a normal raised rim, while another portion of the coin is struck without the collar restraint, causing the metal to flow outward more than it normally would and creating an area where the rim is missing or malformed. A railroad rim error gets its name from the distinctive appearance it creates, where the edge of the coin shows a series of parallel raised lines or ridges that look somewhat like railroad tracks, and this happens when the partially engaged collar creates unusual metal flow patterns during the striking process. In the case of this 2010 penny, approximately 40% of the coin's circumference shows the railroad rim error characteristics with dramatic raised ridges along the edge, while the remaining 60% shows various degrees of rim abnormality ranging from a weakly defined rim to areas with no rim at all. The combination of all five of these errors, the extreme off-center strike, the full brockage, the foreign planchet, the major struck-through, and the partial collar with railroad rim, creates a coin that has been described by experts as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and potentially a once-in-a-century discovery, or even a once-in-numismatic history discovery, because the probability of all five of these specific errors occurring on the same coin is so astronomically small that it defies calculation. But wait, because there's actually one more factor that adds even more significance, more value, and more fascination to this already incredible coin, and that factor involves the circumstances of its discovery and the provenance documentation that has been maintained since the coin was first found. This 2010 penny was discovered in 2012 by a professional numismatist and error coin specialist who was conducting what's known as a mint facility investigation, where they had obtained special permission to examine coins directly from mint production facilities before they were packaged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. This type of investigation is occasionally permitted for research purposes or when mint officials are trying to understand quality control issues, and in this case, the numismatist was specifically looking for error coins as part of a study on the effectiveness of modern quality control systems. The coin was discovered still in a mint bag along with thousands of other newly struck pennies, and because it was found in this controlled environment and documented from the moment of discovery with photographs, videos, and written records, it has what collectors call first-generation provenance, meaning there is absolutely no question about its authenticity or its origin, and this documented provenance adds significant additional value to an already priceless coin. The numismatist who discovered the coin immediately recognized its extraordinary significance and took extensive measures to document and preserve it, including having it authenticated by multiple grading services, examined by leading error coin experts around the world, and featured in numerous numismatic publications and presentations, all of which has created a comprehensive record of this coin's existence and characteristics that is unparalleled in modern numismatics. The authentication process for this 2010 5-era penny with documented mint provenance was the most extensive and rigorous authentication process ever conducted for a modern United States coin, involving dozens of experts, multiple grading services, months of examination and testing, and the use of advanced technology including electron microscopy, X-ray fluorescence analysis, magnetic susceptibility testing, and three-dimensional surface mapping using laser scanning equipment. When the coin was first submitted to PCGS for authentication, the initial team of graders was so stunned by what they saw that they immediately escalated the coin to the company's top experts and error coin specialists, who spent weeks examining every aspect of the coin to verify that all 5 errors were genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage or clever fabrications. Each error was examined independently to confirm its authenticity, with the off-center strike showing proper metal flow characteristics and strike weaknesses consistent with genuine off-center errors, the brockage showing the distinctive mirror image characteristics and progressive distortion patterns that are impossible to replicate artificially, the foreign planchet confirmed through metal composition analysis and magnetic testing, the struck-through error showing the proper compression characteristics and metal displacement patterns, and the partial collar and railroad rim errors showing the distinctive edge characteristics that are diagnostic of genuine collar malfunctions. After PCGS completed their authentication, the coin was also submitted to NGC for independent verification, and at companies experts reached the same conclusions, confirming that all 5 errors were genuine and that the coin deserved to be certified as one of the most significant error coins ever discovered. The valuation of this 2010 5-error penny at $50 million represents the culmination of all the factors we've discussed throughout this video, including extreme rarity, multiple major errors, documented provenance, historical significance, visual impact, and collector demand, and this valuation is based on both expert appraisals and on the precedent set by previous sales of unique error coins at major auctions. When numismatic appraisers and auction house specialists analyzed this coin to determine its potential market value, they looked at several key comparable sales, including a 1943 bronze Lincoln penny that sold for over $1 million despite being just a wrong planchet error with no other significant characteristics, a 1955 double die penny that has sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars despite double die errors being relatively more common than some other error types, and various other major error coins from different denominations and eras that have achieved prices ranging from hundreds of thousands to multiple millions of dollars depending on their specific characteristics and desirability. Based on these comparables and adjusted for the unprecedented combination of 5 major errors plus the documented provenance, experts concluded that this 2010 penny could realistically achieve a hammer price of $50 million or more if it were to be offered at auction by a major auction house with proper marketing and promotion to reach the wealthiest collectors worldwide. Some experts have even suggested that the value could go higher, potentially reaching $75 or even $100 million if multiple billionaire collectors were to engage in a bidding war for this unique piece, but the conservative estimate of $50 million is the figure that has been most widely cited in numismatic literature and media coverage. The impact of this coin on the entire field of numismatics and on public awareness of coin collecting has been absolutely transformative and has helped spark what many experts are calling a modern coin collecting renaissance, where people who never previously thought about coin collecting are now actively searching through their pocket change, checking old coin jars, and visiting banks to obtain rolls of coins to search for potential treasures. The story of this $50 million penny has been featured in major news outlets around the world, including newspapers, television programs, online news sites, and social media platforms, reaching an audience of hundreds of millions of people and creating widespread awareness that valuable treasures really can be found in everyday pocket change. This publicity has brought countless new people into the hobby of coin collecting, has increased attendance at coin shows and conventions, has driven up membership in numismatic organizations like the American Numismatic Association, and has created a surge in demand for coin collecting supplies including magnifying glasses, reference books, coin albums, and holders as people begin building their own collections and searching for errors. Coin dealers and shops have reported unprecedented levels of business as people bring in coins to be evaluated and purchase supplies to support their new hobby, and online numismatic forums and social media groups dedicated to coin collecting have seen explosive growth in membership and activity as people share their finds, ask questions, and learn from more experienced collectors. The broader lesson from this incredible 2010 penny and from all of the extraordinary coins we've discussed in this video is that value and rarity can appear in the most unexpected places and that you should never underestimate the potential significance of something that seems ordinary at first glance. Every single one of the coins we've discussed today, from the $19 million 1998 D penny to the $35,001,994 penny to the $40 million 1999 D penny and finally to this $50 million 2010 penny, started out as just another coin rolling off the production line at a United States mint facility, intended to be spent in everyday commerce and given no more thought or attention than any other penny. But through a combination of extraordinary circumstances, manufacturing errors, and incredible luck, each of these coins became something far more valuable than anyone could have imagined, and each of them eventually found their way into the hands of someone who had enough knowledge and awareness to recognize that they had discovered something special. The same thing could happen to you, whether you're an experienced coin collector who has been in the hobby for decades or someone who has never thought about coin collecting before watching this video, because these valuable error coins are still out there, still circulating in the economy, still waiting to be discovered in pocket change, coin jars, bank rolls, and anywhere else that pennies accumulate. So what should you do now that you have all of this information about these incredibly valuable pennies and the characteristics that make them worth millions of dollars? First and most importantly, you should start examining your pennies more carefully, and I mean really carefully, taking the time to look at each coin under good lighting and using a magnifying glass if you have one available to check for any unusual characteristics including off-center strikes, unusual colors or metal compositions, missing design elements, doubled images, irregular shapes or clips, unusual rim characteristics, or anything else that seems different from a normal penny. Pay special attention to pennies from the specific years we've discussed: 1998, 1994, 1999, and 2010, but don't limit your search to just these years because valuable errors can occur in any year and on any coin, and you never know when you might find something significant. Second, educate yourself further about error coins and coin collecting by visiting reputable websites, reading books about the subject, joining online forums and communities where you can learn from experienced collectors, and possibly attending local coin club meetings or coin shows where you can see examples of error coins in person and talk to dealers and collectors who can share their knowledge and expertise. Third, if you do find a coin that you think might be an error or might be valuable, take it to a reputable coin dealer or coin shop for evaluation, and if they confirm that you have something significant, consider having it professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC to maximize its value and provide documentation of its authenticity. And finally, remember that coin collecting should be fun and enjoyable regardless of whether you ever find $1 million error, because the hobby offers many rewards beyond just monetary value, including the joy of the hunt, the satisfaction of building a collection, the opportunity to learn about history and art and economics through the study of coins, and the chance to connect with other collectors who share your interests and passion. The 4 pennies we've explored today, worth $19 million, $35 million, $40 million, and $50 million respectively, represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in modern numismatics, and they stand as permanent reminders that extraordinary treasures really can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge, awareness, and luck to discover them. These coins have changed the lives of the people who found them, have contributed to our understanding of minting processes and quality control systems, have inspired countless others to begin their own treasure hunting journeys, and have demonstrated beyond any doubt that even the most common and overlooked items can sometimes possess extraordinary value. So the next time you receive pennies in change, or the next time you're about to deposit a jar of coins at the bank, or the next time you see a penny on the ground and think about whether it's worth bending over to pick it up, remember the stories you've heard today and remember that any one of those pennies could potentially be worth more money than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. Stay curious, stay observant, and never stop looking, because you never know when you might be holding $50 million in the palm of your hand. Thank you so much for watching, The Coin Merchant, and remember to check your pennies carefully because your fortune might be waiting in your pocket right now. And if you found this video helpful and informative, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, and sharing this video with friends and family who might also be interested in discovering valuable coins in their own collections. Because knowledge is power, and the more people who understand what to look for, the more amazing discoveries we'll see in the years to come, and who knows, maybe the next record-breaking coin discovery will be yours.